podcast episode, we're going to talk about the history of the Philippine educational system. Our guests will help us delve into the education process of different periods of Philippine history and how it reflects the nature and character of Philippine society over the years.
I'm a Jet partner, and yesterday we have sit down with our guest, the chairman of Linguistic Society of the Philippines, Dr. Elisa Vidal, and Attorney Althea Ramundo, the Assistant Secretary for the DepEd Curriculum Teaching under the Curriculum Development.
Lastly, Dr. Shanta Iudajero, linguist and a professor at the University of the Philippines. Kaya let's see and watch this.
Now, let us welcome our first special guest, the Chairman of Linguistic Society of the Philippines, Dr. Elisa Vidal, to discuss the educational system during the pre-colonial period to the period of Spanish colonization in the country. Magandang tanghali sa iyo, Dr. Vidal.
Magandang tanghali din sa iyo, Ms. Angelica, at sa mga listeners ng Poet.com podcast. Hello, I'm Dr. Elisa Vidal. During this session, I want everyone to know that we will be focusing on sociological concept and function of education in our society. In addition to that, I want to delve with the fact that the nature and character of society influences the educational system. Ika nga nila, what society considers important is what schools teach.
Alright, so let us start with education during the pre-colonial age wherein the education was informal and unstructured and also decentralized back then, right?
Yes, and Ms. Angelica, nung mga panahon na to, ay tinuturuan ng mga lalaking matatanda yung mga anak nila na kung paano mangaso para sa kakainin nila sa araw na yun. And the mothers na naman, naiiwan sa kanilang mga bahay, ay tinuturuan naman nila yung mga anak nilang babae sa kung paano gawin yung household chores. And this kind of education basically prepares their children to be good husbands and wives in the future.
Yes, at kung hindi ako nagkakamali, Doc, di ba, yung way of teaching nila dati, more on vocational teaching sa tribe, so more on doing and lesser academics talaga sila.
Yes, Angelica. At sa mga teachers nila dati ay mas kilala sa tawag na babaylan o katalonan. And this leader spreads and teaches about spiritual knowledge and practices among their community during those times. Dito naman tayo sa education during the Spanish era. Dito natin masasabi na hindi lang lifestyle ang nag-iba sa mga Pilipino, kundi pati na rin ang education system natin.
Oo nga, and if I'm not mistaken, Doc, during this era, it's dito na naging mas formal, organized, and mas nagkaroon ng structure yung education natin sa Philippines, right?
Yes, and by this time, it is more authoritarian in nature, and the tribal tutor and the babaylans were replaced by the Spanish missionaries and friars. Simula nung dumating ang mga Spaniards sa Philippine soil. At makikita naman natin dito sa school is focused more religion-oriented teachings where they teach such as Christian doctrines, sacred songs, music, and prayers.
Yes, because they are required to communion and confession.
Exactly. And by this time, magkahiwalay din ang schools para sa mga babae at lalaki.
Di ba, Doc, by the Spanish education, parang meron silang exclusive education only for the wealthy families, which we call mestizos or the ilustrados, that is more accommodated in advanced type of education and aligned din sa Spanish ruling class.
Correct, because Spanish people won't allow the Filipinos or Indians to understand the policy of the government by that time. That is why they have a separate education system, which is more informal and outside the control of the Spanish authorities.
Oh, we are forgetting about the educational decree of 1863.
Yes, the education decree of 1863. Well, this one naman, it is a complete system of education from elementary to collegiate level. This law establishment of the elementary in all municipalities in the country.
Oh, so by this time pala, they already considers the reading, writing, arithmetic, Christian doctrine, Spanish language, vocal music, agriculture for the boys, and needlework for the girls.
Yes, Angelica. And also, the attendance in school was compulsory between the ages of 7 and 12.
Hey! Brief interruption lang saglit. Ako nga pala si Reyna Lilangkon, ang video producer ng Poet.com podcast. And I would like to know if you're liking this podcast so far. So if you say yes, please don't forget to hit the thumbs up, like our video, and subscribe to our channel. And if you're still with me, let's buckle in and let's go discuss the education during the American era.
Thank you very much for guesting for today's segment, Dr. Elisa Vidal.
Thank you for having me, Angelica.
Let's now delve into the American and Japanese educational system in the country with no other than Attorney Althea Ramundo, the Assistant Secretary of the DepEd Curriculum Teaching under the Bureau of Curriculum Development. Good day, Attorney.
Good day and thank you for having me on this show.
Attorney, with the Spaniards left the Philippines under the Americans' hands, we Filipinos experienced a new government and education system, right?
Exactly, and during the American time, years 1898 to 1946, the American promote yung tinatawag na democratic ideals and democratic way of life. And yung sa schools na maintained by the Spaniards plus the
simula na dumating yung mga Americans. Hindi lang dyan natatapos dahil itong mga Commonwealth period pa, this is the year in 1935 to 1942, wherein free education in public schools was provided as sa buong Pilipinas in accordance with the 1935 Constitution. At saka mas napalawak pa yung opportunities dahil ang vocational education and household activities are being given as importance sa ng pagdating, pagsasaka at pagluluto.
And also, attorney, di ba, dito natin naging part ng education natin yung pag-aaral ng the life of our Filipino heroes such as Rizal, Bonifacio, and such.
Yes, Miss Angelica, kaya dito in-implement dahil para mas ma-emphasize yung nationalism dito sa ating bansa. At hindi lang yan, because good manners and discipline were also taught in schools during this period. Institute of Education was also established para ma-conserve din yung private schools.
Di ba, attorney, dito na rin nagkaroon ng mga executive orders such as Executive Order number 134 of 1936, Executive Order number 217, which is the Quezon Code of Ethics, and Executive Order number 260 in 1940 na required yung mga schools from high school to college na ituro yung Filipino subject.
Yes, tama ka dyan, Angelica. Kasi after talaga ng Spanish colonialism, talagang nag-enhance, nag-expand ang educational system natin at mas madaming Filipino ang nakapagtrabaho na maayos dahil sa magandang impact ng ating edukasyon.
Yes, attorney. After nga no, at hindi ako nagkakamali, sumunod naman ang Japanese colonialism, which is ang pinaka naging focus ay ang Philippine history, paggamit ng Tagalog as well as the character education.
Tama ka dyan, folks. Alam mo rin ba, disclaimer ha, hindi chismis, na sila rin ang nagtatag ng trifocal system, which is DEX, TESDA, at JET.
Ang galing lang kung iisipin, no? At saka balitaan mo nga rin na ang Department of Education, Culture and Sports, or DEX, ay mas kilala na ngayon bilang Department of Education dito sa ating bansa.
Isn't it amazing? Isn't it fascinating? Pero kidding aside lang, no? Alam mo ba na Japanese people tried to stop Filipino from using our own language? However, hindi rin sila nagtagumpay kahit anong push nila sa mga tao na gamitin ang Ipogo or tawag nila sa language at that time. Filipino pa rin ang na-promote as a national language.
Naku, dapat lang to. Kasi parang ang ironic naman kung nasa sariling bansa tayo tapos iba yung gamit nating lingwahe. So, iba lang ako, attorney mo. Di ba by this time, ay tatag din ang RA 9155, also known as Governance of Basic Education Act.
Yes, oo. Buti nabanggit mo, no? Originally, yung law na yan was founded in August 2001. It organized how basic education in the Philippines is run. Like, for instance, it explains sino ang teachers nito, or ganyan, or in other words, yung mga directors and local boards sa schools.
So much information for today's video. Mapapa-ari na to sa mas na talaga. Once again, I would like to thank you for joining us, Attorney Althea Del Mundo. Now, my partner Eunice will now commence the next segment of this podcast entitled Positive and Negative States Mo about the evolution of our educational system in the country.
Thank you for that, no, partner Angelica. I am joined here today with no other than Dr. Cathy U. De Leoro, a linguist and a professor at the University of the Philippines. So, Dr. De Leoro, as a linguist, what are your thoughts about the and perspective on the evolution of our educational system?
First, one of the positive effects of the evolution of our education system is the implementation of laws of economy. Even though such as the Southern Bill directly influence our education system in our country, it aims to reduce discrimination, bullying, harassment, or marginalization of students inside or outside the school because it wants to try to end discrimination.
May dagdag ko lang daw, no, this bill can also help us ensure that LGBTQ plus students have the same educational opportunities as a heterosexual and cisgender peers. So, kasi di ba ang tendency kapag part ka ng LGBT dati, parang tingin nila sa'yo is kakaiba or napaka-common ng thinking parate ng mga matanda is sakit to na pwede natin mabago or which is mali, di ba?
Oo, very obvious naman yan. Kaya nga nausagado yung kanta nila ngayon na Serena, which was very deep and people meaning talaga ipapagpili natin ang Philippine lyrics.
Big thank you talaga sa mga pagbabatas natin na nagpapasa ng ganitong laws. Napaka very mindful and very nag-work. I have a question lang po, Doctor. Ano po kaya sa tingin niyo yung major problem na natin ngayon sa ating bansa na hanggang ngayon problema pa rin sa kasanayan?
I think it is love between the educational opportunities between urban and rural areas. Kaya nga diba, nagkakaroon din talaga ng discrimination when it comes to quality na kapag dahil ka sa probinsya, mas mababa yung kalidad na ibibigay mula compared sa mga nag-aaral na sa mga urban areas.
Actually, Doc, hindi rin natin sila masisisi kung bakit ganun yung thinking nila kasi in the first place, talaga sa mga rural areas, kulang sila sa mga instructional materials and even sa mga teachers. Samahan mo pa ng financial burden and environmental factors. So doon parang lugi na talaga, no?
Tama. Kaya ang mahalaga ang i-predict talaga na dapat tinatrabaho ng ating mga ang babatas at creative. Kasi kapag isang estudyante, talagang walang kulang or enough
wish na sana talaga mabago natin yung society just snap of our fingers para makamit ng lahat yung equity and sumali din natin ng inclusivity regardless of their races, their social status, and such. So, dito naman tayo sa may negative effects of the previous stages ng educational system natin. Siyempre, dapat nilaway din natin yung mga bagay-bagay na hinahatapan din natin ng loopholes, yung ating mga rules and regulations, as well as yung mga mismong system. So, para saan pa yung freedom of speech natin, right?
Freedom right? Kung nakagawin mong country, you can also voice out your opinions regarding the controversial society as for age, especially sa mga keyword words natin and online.
Speaking of online, nabalitaan mo na ba yung kumakalat issue about the online class, especially yung mga panahon ng pandemic na naka-quarantine talaga lahat ng tao, pati mga students that time.
Yeah, I heard that. Actually, nakakalungkot na. Kasi bakit naman yung mga students na nag-travel online, yung wala rin naman silang magagawa kung hindi matungkay ng pagkain. Mahirap din ang online class,
Okay, so sa totoo lang talaga, danas na danas po natin yan. Actually, hindi lang yung students, pati tayo yung mga nagtatrabaho, diba? So for everyone's awareness lang po, lahat ng nakikinig sa amin ngayon, especially yung mga employers po natin in different fields and companies, hindi po porket online class, wala na pong natutunan. But in fact, meron pong ginagamit ng mga platforms like Google Meet and Zoom in order to have an interaction si students and si teachers, di ba, Doc?
Totoo. At saka meron akong nabasa na friends sa Facebook na hirap na hirap daw sila sa mga exam kasi kahit online, ay nag-monitor or na-track pa rin ng teacher. Parang nakakatuwa lang na kahit nasa ganun setup, hindi pa rin hinahayaan or gumagawa pa rin talaga ng way para mas matuto ang mga students.
Real, di ba? Yung mga students talaga na nakikinig talaga sa mga yan. Anyways, sa usaping exam naman tayo, ano yung take mo sa battery exam?
For me, I don't agree with it. Bakit? Kasi may mga students na magaling lang sa exams, pero bigyan sila ng gawain na practical and after setup to block the error. Opinion ko lang po dapat kasi mga kailangan skills na kakailanganin ng mga students sa kanilang mga naging professions instead of bombarding them of different information, hindi naman talaga yung sa gagamit.
Take tayo ng perspective regarding dyan, Doc. Kasi bakit pa nga naman didiktahan yung future ng isang tao dahil lang sa isang exam, right? So, although we don't disregard the relevance of exam in a broad context, since dito din naman talaga nakikita may progress or natutunan ba sa students. However, when it comes sa battery exam, parehas tayo ng perspective is a big no for me.
Diba? Kasi hindi rin talaga natin alam paano mag-perform ang isang tao or students kapag nasa actual setup na. This battery exam seems like underestimating students' capabilities kasi what if yun talaga yung desired profession niya tapos hindi niya natin ikasa, parang tinatagalan din talaga natin ang freedom or autonomy yung isang students.
I agree with you, Doc. Thank you so much, Doc Shan Kathleen Villoro, for letting us have you here in one of our episodes.
So thank you guys for tuning in to this episode. We hope you guys enjoyed it and learned something new from us today.
And let us know what is your thought. Just comment down below. And if you have questions about the history of the Philippine educational system, just comment down